Hi everyone, it's Nick, the Jaded book burner. I don't actually burn books, and I'm here today to finally give you all a review. And this time it will be the review of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I hope I said that her last name right because her name also sounds like Vichy Schwab, which is like a soup. But anyway, yeah, so this is my first review. And setup's a bit different. Lighting's a bit better. I'm doing this in the morning of Sunday. But anyway, this was a book that when it was first announced, I was kind of interested in um, because of the themes and story of the book. The book is about a French girl named Adeline or Addie LaRue, who was born in or not born in, but lives in 17th century France, late 17th century France, and she's about to get married, and she doesn't want to get married, and she wants to live a life of freedom. So this witch in her village named Estelle tells her, pray to the gods, and but not the ones after night, and she, doesn't follow that advice, of course, and prays to a god at night. Um, she eventually calls this god sometimes the darkness, sometimes Luke for Lucian or Lucian, whatever the French is. And he gives her a life of freedom, but the price is people forget her almost immediately after she leaves them or they turn away from her. So her parents forget who she is, the village forgets who she is, Estelle forgets who she is, and then years later, in 2014, while living in New York City, a young man named Henry Strauss, I think he's a young man, he was like mid 20s, 30s, whatever, or mid 20s, early 30s, um, remembers her after she visits his bookshop. And they grow closer, but in the meantime, they discover that their lives may be more closely linked than they think. Again, this is a book that I was interested in because of that whole theme of this French girl, making a Faustinian bargain with a demon. I really cannot decide where I want to put this. You know what? I'll just put this here. Um, so that bargain, and I had actually read V.E. Schwab's A Darker Shade of Magic, and I gave that 3 out of 5 stars. It was okay, but I had no interest in reading the rest of the trilogy. I thought like the world building and magic system in that was great, but I didn't like the characters. I felt that Kel, I believe that was his name was, had the personality of a 2x4, and Lila had the superpower of convenience, but that's just me. So I was kind of interested in this. I'm pointing at my Goodreads review behind my phone just because to jog my memory on certain things. But I was kind of interested in this, but I really did not like, again, that much A Darker Shade of Magic. And I really had nothing else, or V.E. Schwab had nothing else that I was interested in reading. Um, I was kind of into the villains duology, but a friend of mine, they said that especially the second book, what didn't live up to the hype. There was a lot of fridging of female characters, which I find very strange because V.E. Schwab is very much vocal about being against that. But I haven't read the books, but whatever. Anyway, this is about Addie LaRue. After this book came out, there were so many mixed reviews of this. Like, people were loving it, they were hating it, they were just, eh. Um, I know the BookTube Goddess really liked this. I know Daniel Green really liked this. I knew Read with Cindy was just kind of like, it's good, but not great. Um, I know Monty Pierce, I believe his name is. Sorry if I got your name wrong, Monty. He didn't like it. Um, my friend Natalia on Goodreads, she thought it was just okay. A few other friends on my Goodreads, they loved it. So I was like, you know what? Why not? This was actually my last read for 2020. I was debating on reading this or Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse before I got into my classic sci-fi um, stuff. And right now I am currently reading Dune by Frank Herbert, and there will be a review of that soon. But anyway, so I went into this with just anticipation. I wasn't sure what to expect. And I actually ended up liking it. Yeah, I liked a V.E. Schwab book. Sue me. Now, it's not perfect. On Goodreads, I gave, my star rating is 4 out of 5, but in my actual review, which I will link down below, I said 3.85 out of 5. It's not perfect. There are some flaws. There are some flaws in this, but I am genuinely impressed at how much I like this. The emotions, the emotional development between 80, oh my God, 80, really? Addie and Henry was so good. It's a very character-driven story. That obviously doesn't excuse the flaws, but it's primarily why it's focused on Addie and Henry. But the emotions, the prose is really beautiful too. I was surprised. It's a lot better than A Darker Shade of Magic. It's not purple prose. Yeah, her prose is kind of what's the author's name who wrote, I'm reading the novella now, Silently, no, that's not how you spell silently. Yes, I'm typing on my laptop while I do a review, silently, and, Catherine M. Valente, author of Silently and Very Fast. So the prose in this, Addie LaRue, is kind of like that. Not purple, but still very beautiful. And that really captured my attention because I do like kind of flowery, beautiful prose. But before I go into why I like the book, let me just get out of the way why I didn't like, or not that I didn't like it, the flaws. Throughout the novel, it jumps between Addie in 2014 with Henry and, occasional visits from the darkness, and also Henry's perspective with his friends. And I'll get into that a bit. But it also jumps back and forth, after Addie has the curse on her. Like the opening where Addie is living in France and she gets the curse on her. That was actually interesting. But in between then, a lot of the historical flashbacks I don't think we needed all of them. And the only, most of the time, it was just an interaction between Addie and Luke, the Darkness. That's what I'm calling him from now on. And the only thing it really reaffirmed a lot was just how much of an asshole Luke was and just how much of the curse was controlling her. I think some of them would have been better if some of them weren't there, or if it just showed Addie on her own adapting to her surrounding, trying to survive, which it does show that when she first gets to, is it Paris? It's either Paris or this bigger town that Addie's father takes her to, because in the beginning her father takes her to this larger, it's not a village, but it's like a larger commune. Well, what is it? Come. Well, whatever. I think it is Paris. Basically, it shows that because she does steal from time to time, and that works out for her because whenever the people try to pursue her and, she runs away, they forget about her, and anytime she does physical harm on someone, or even herself, which she never intentionally harms herself, but as far as I can remember, the wounds heal because she can't leave a mark herself on the world. So she steals sometimes, she's a prostitute briefly. So if that showed a bit more, I think those scenes, or those historical background scenes, or flashback scenes, God, I am just all over the place this morning, would be a bit more stronger. And the other major, major, major thing that really got me is, and again, this is spoilers. This is going to be a whole spoiler video. So if you haven't read this book, go away. Yeah, I'm almost 10 minutes into this. I'm just saying that now. But again, throughout history, the Luke darkness tries to get Addie to yield to him, to say, I can't take the curse anymore. Just take my soul. And we even see him take other people's souls who have been indebted to him throughout history. I think even Beethoven appears at one point. But throughout the time, Addie feels like this pull towards Luke. And but every time this happens, she realizes, he's just trying to get to me. But then at one point in New Orleans in late 1800. Oh God, what? Or was it Chicago? Blah blah blah. Oh yeah, the 1940. No, that's 1950. I really should have. Okay, 1970 New Orleans. Well, I'm like a history student that's doing a presentation. I didn't do the research until now. But in 1970s New Orleans, Luke and Addie finally strike up a relationship, even though she still witnesses him taking someone else's soul. And just as they're about to, or when they do sleep with each other, he still wants her to yield. And she's like, you tricked me, or you're trying to trick me. And like, girl, really? Like, you kept saying that through all the past historical moments, and you kept emphasizing that he's a demon who's taken the shape of the guy you forever wanted to bang, and you just finally got that. There was a car driving outside, and my dog is barking. Sorry if you can hear that noise. But really, Addie, really, come on, girl. Like, like, that was just like a major head scratcher. But now, on to the good things. I didn't think I would end up caring about, again, sorry, just scrolling down on my review. I didn't think I would end up caring about Addie and Henry, because Addie, for a little bit, felt like, I'm not like the other girls. Which, I mean, she kind of isn't. She has a curse on her. And Henry, at first, I couldn't really, Henry is a bookseller who Addie meets, and is the guy who remembers her after she leaves his bookshop. And everywhere he goes, whereas Addie is forgotten by someone, whenever someone looks at him, they just see what they most desire out of him. A lover, a friend, a good customer, a good sibling, because plot twist, and this isn't that big of a plot twist, you kind of figure it out, but Henry also entered into a debt with Luke the Darkness too. And his, because he was kind of living vicariously through life, he was kind of failing to be a good son, a good student, and he just wanted something to be remembered by. And Luke the Darkness said, basically everyone will love you. And so they did. And he really, really loved that. But then he kind of realized this is all just the curse. Until he finally met Addie, who the only thing she ever wanted to be, or most desired, was for someone to remember her. She wasn't looking for a lover or a friend, just someone to remember her. So to a lot of people, that they said that was contradictory to the curses, but for me it wasn't. Addie even says that Luke the Darkness made a mistake, and she kind of says that throughout the book, that he will eventually slip up, and he did. So that made sense to me. She wanted to be remembered. Henry's curse brings out what people most desire. That's what she wanted. So that made sense to me at least. And I actually grew to love the relationship. The interactions between them were so sweet and just loving. And I actually cared for them. And probably the part that made me care about the most is one, it's when Addie is in Paris, and there's this boy named Remy who she, basically has a one night stand with, or a 1 day stand, I could say. He gets her interested in philosophy and stuff. And after they sleep together and wake up, he gives her a coin because he thinks she's a prostitute he slept with. And that scene was just like, that was punch to the heart. Like, that actually hurts. I actually ended up relating to Henry. I cannot believe that I ended up relating to Henry. Um, Henry, it turns out, studied theology and religious studies like I did. I have a master's in arts of religion. My minor in my undergrad was religious studies. And he wanted to spend his life just being a student forever and maybe one day on the other side teaching it. So did I. And this was back before this whole pandemic went down, and even before the pandemic, academia, especially theology, religious studies, was just so tough. And yeah, I ended up relating to Henry, and I felt so bad for him. And yes, I even worked at a bookstore at one point. The only difference between me and him is I'm not Jewish. So, um, but and the other part is when Addie learns about Henry's curse and how much time he has left, we learn that she made a deal with Luke to spare him. And it may seem kind of cliche to people, but before Henry and Addie part, they're on top of a building where Henry originally, like years ago or a year ago, um, was about to jump, was about to, just where he made the contract with Luke, the darkness. And it's raining around Addie and him, and they don't want to part, and they don't want to part. And oh, it was just so, so, so good. I can't believe, my cold, dead heart actually felt for them. Like, I don't believe it. I don't believe it that I actually cared for these two. The romance between them was just so sweet, and, like, through Henry, Addie was able to leave a mark. Addie could kind of leave a mark, but not directly. Throughout history, she served as a muse for various artists, and they could, paint her image, but not her face. And, her face can't be captured on photograph or film either. It looks like she's turning away or it's blurring. In all these paintings and stuff, her face is never fully there, or she's, turning away. But everyone remembers her by her seven, I think you can actually see it on here, kind of, the 7-star freckles that she has, which, oh my God, they mentioned those freckles a lot along with Henry's curls. But anyway, and so through art, as a muse, she kind of leaves a partial impression of herself. People can see the painting and the image, and they will remember that, but, they don't know who Addie is. All the artists forgot her. But through Henry, she's also able to record her story. She can't physically write it herself. The ink disappears, the writing disappears, but Henry writes it as well. And even when they're at this little art exhibit on a date, she puts her hand on his, and he paints her name, Addie, and it stays. That, I'm not a big fan of romance, at all. But, oh my gosh, it was just so... It was sweet. I still can't believe that I'm praising this book. Again, it has flaws, but that I'm praising a V.E. Schwab book. But, my God, I really felt for these two. And the only character who I really, really disliked was Robbie. He was a friend and former lover of Henry. Both Henry and Addie are bisexual, by the way. This book is bisexuality incarnate, and thank goodness, because rarely have I read a book where, even if there's a bisexual character who's central, the bisexuality isn't, the bisexual shimma is not grounded, it's just kind of there. This does that. But Robbie is a friend and former lover of Henry. He's also a theater person, and he was kind of biphobic. He was just so just angry all the time. And it's like, dude, get over it. And I know it was the curse partially, but it was like, or Henry's curse at least. But why are you still friends with this guy, Henry? There was also Beatrice, who was a lesbian friend, lesbian black friend of Henry. I liked her. She was kind of cool. Um, they were all artsy art students and got kind of pretentious, but not too much. Um, like, I'm not over the moon with this book. Again, it has flaws, but you know what? I'm actually not going to take, you know, I'm not going to give this book away. I'm not going to unhaul it. I'm not going to go donate it. I actually love the writing, the prose, the emotions. I didn't want Henry and Addie to separate. They do separate in the end, partially because of Addie's way to get Henry out of his curse. And with the notes he recorded of her life, he writes a book called The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. He doesn't put his name on it, his picture on it, but Addie is finally remembered throughout the world. Now, I will say V.E. Schwab kind of brushed over getting the literary agent part, and all that. But, her story is recorded, and she's with Luke, the darkness, but she says, one day I will finally undo him. I will finally get him. And she probably will. I don't think this will have a sequel. I don't think it needs a sequel. I love the way it ended. But it was sad, bittersweet, touching. And I can't believe I'm still thinking about it. Again, yeah, I liked The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. V.E. Schwab, you did it. You wrote a book that I loved. Yeah, I liked it. Now, again, I know, like I said at the beginning, not everyone loved this book. If you loved it, tell me why. If you didn't like it, tell me why. If you thought it was okay, tell me why. Again, I gave it a 3.85 out of 5 stars, so there's probably some agreement here. I guess if that was like a school grading system, that would be like a B minus, basic B, whatever. So anyway, that is my first review on my channel of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Please like, comment, ring that bell, because apparently you have to do that now. And I hope you all have a great and wonderful day. Thank you for watching my first review. Bye.